Why does your child ignore you when you sacrificed your life for them? This haunting question cuts deep. You've given your all years of sleepless nights, selfless love, endless support, yet now your adult child treats you as if you barely exist. The silence on the other end of the phone feels like a knife twist. The casual indifference in their voice leaves you hollow. You wonder how the child you nurtured with every fiber of your being can seem to feel no gratitude at all. It's an emotional wound that throbs with confusion and pain. Sigmund Freud, father of psychoanalysis, might whisper an answer that surprises you. Beneath the hurtful ingratitude lie hidden forces of the psyche. To Freud, an ungrateful adult child isn't simply selfish or cruel. They may be wrestling with unconscious emotions that turn love into something threatening. In the following 7 arcs, we'll journey through a Freudian lens to understand this heartbreak. We'll peel back layers of transference repression, reaction formation, guilt, narcissistic injury, and ambivalence, translating complex theory into the emotional reality you live every day. Through each arc, imagine a calm, compassionate therapist's voice guiding you, helping you find clarity, and perhaps a measure of healing in this bewildering storm. Your story might go like this: you devoted your life to raising your child. You gave up personal dreams so they could fulfill theirs. You were there on every dark night, every fever, every heartbreak, sacrificing without question. And now in adulthood, they meet you with coldness. No thank you, no acknowledgement. It's as if all those years of love vanished into a void. You might ask yourself, did I do something wrong? You replay memories, searching for the moment things turned. Their indifference feels like rejection of you at the core of your identity. Each unanswered text or distant holiday visit whispers that you don't matter. The narcissistic injury cuts deep. After all, our children are extensions of ourselves in a way. When they erase us, it wounds our sense of self. Freud understood that the parent-child bond is tangled with intense emotions. He wrote that children must eventually break free from their parents' authority, a necessary but painful part of development. Children aren't born grateful. They're born needing. And to become independent, they have to push away the very people who gave them life. The freeing of an individual from the authority of his parents is one of the most necessary, though painful, results of growing up, Freud noted. Yet knowing this doesn't ease the sting. You never imagined that giving them everything would one day leave you feeling like nothing. This emotional arc begins with that raw pain. Before we explore Freud's answer to your child's ingratitude, we must first honor your sorrow. The pain of devotion met with silence. You are not alone. Many loving parents feel this way, and not because they failed. As Freud hints, it may ironically be because you succeeded in raising an independent person. On the surface, it seems simple. A decent person should feel grateful to a parent who sacrificed so much. But psychoanalysis asks us to look deeper into the unconscious, where feelings often defy logic. From a Freudian view, your adult child may experience gratitude as a threat. This may sound strange, but appreciating, you can stir up truths they aren't prepared to face. To sincerely say thank you would mean confronting how deeply they depended on you. That admission can feel terrifying. It's much safer from their psyche's viewpoint to minimize your role, or pretend their success happened despite you. If they see you as the hero you were, they may feel small, obligated, or indebted. Gratitude implies continued emotional bond and dependence, something they subconsciously want to escape. It threatens their fragile autonomy. Freud's concept of reaction formation explains this inversion. A child who feels deep appreciation may flip that feeling into coldness or irritation. Gratitude feels too soft, too vulnerable, so they harden. The impulse is repressed, and what surfaces is the opposite entitlement or disdain. Denying you gratitude helps them convince themselves they never needed you. Guilt also plays a part. Deep down, your child may feel guilty for never being able to repay you. Freud said guilt is born from the tension between a harsh internal conscience, the superego, and the ego that feels judged. If their inner voice whispers, "You'll never repay your parents," that guilt becomes unbearable. So they escape it by flipping the narrative, "I owe them nothing. It was their job to sacrifice." By framing your love as obligation, they avoid feeling indebted. In Freud's view, when guilt is too strong, people seek relief through punishment or blame. Ingratitude becomes a defense, a way of punishing themselves by pushing away love to avoid guilt. Freud's essay Family Romances offers a striking insight. Many children, as they grow, fantasize that their real parents aren't their true parents. Why? Because it helps them dethrone their parents and elevate themselves. In one version of the fantasy, the real parents are imagined to be more superior, nobler, wiser. By mentally replacing you, the adult child shields themselves from feelings of dependency. Gratitude becomes a threat to their self-image, so they rewrite history to exclude your sacrifices. The result is heartbreaking. When they brush you off or act like you're just another person in their life, it feels deeply personal, but not in the way you think. They haven't decided you're undeserving. On a deeper level, thanking you terrifies them. It risks exposing their vulnerability, guilt, or pride. So they choose ingratitude as a shield. Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it reframes it. Their coldness speaks to a psychological struggle, not your failure. To them, gratitude equals vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like a threat when one is trying to assert adulthood. Freud believed that a child's rejection of their parents often masks a deeper attachment. The child who cannot say thank you may be locked in a tug-of-war between love and aggression. In turning away from real parents, the child may be clinging to an earlier image of them or an idealized version of self to avoid painful dependence. In this sense, gratitude feels like defeat, so they replace it with emotional distance. As a parent, this knowledge is bittersweet. It's shocking to realize that their ungrateful stance may actually reveal how much your love mattered so much that they had to fight it to become themselves. But it also means their hurtful behavior reflects their own fears, not your worth. The threat of gratitude is really the threat of acknowledging just how deeply they once needed you. In the next arc, we'll explore how this hidden fear of vulnerability can escalate, leading a child to not just avoid gratitude, but to punish you for the very love you gave so freely. It sounds like a cruel irony. Why would my child punish me for loving them? And yet that's exactly how it feels. Every time you reach out with love, an offer to help, a gift, a warm invitation, your adult child responds with something that feels like punishment. Maybe they snap at you, roll their eyes, or withdraw even further. It's as if your very love is an unwelcome intrusion to be slapped away. This is one of the most bewildering experiences a devoted parent can have. Freud's theories help us make sense of this painful paradox by uncovering the hidden emotions and fantasies that can drive such behavior. In the depths of the unconscious, love and hate often intertwine. Freud introduced the idea of ambivalence, the coexistence of deep affection and deep resentment toward the same person. No relationship embodies ambivalence quite like the parent-child bond. Your child, no matter how old, carries unconscious memories of total dependence on you. For all the comfort and security your love provided, there was also frustration and fear. Times when your child felt powerless, times when what dad says goes. As children grow, they resent that dependence even as they crave love. This can seed a powerful ambivalence toward the parent, a mix of grateful love and angry resistance. If that ambivalence isn't resolved, an adult child may unconsciously punish the parent for having been so necessary to them. In other words, they punish you for the fact that they needed you and perhaps still do. One way this can manifest is through what Freud studied in a famous fantasy he called "a child is being beaten." In this disturbing yet revealing scenario, a child imagines another child being beaten by a parent, or even pictures themselves receiving punishment and experiences an unsettling emotional satisfaction from it. Freud uncovered a hidden logic behind these fantasies, feelings considered unacceptable, such as jealousy, love, or anger, become disguised as imagined punishments. For example, a child jealous of a sibling might fantasize that father is beating that sibling as a way to punish the rival and feel dad's justice on their side. In a later phase of the fantasy, the same child might imagine I am being beaten by my father because he loves me. Yes, as bizarre as it sounds, the child unconsciously equates being punished with being loved. Pleasure and pain entwine, affection and aggression fuse. The fantasy allows the child to deal with guilt and desire. If dad punishes me, it must mean he cares enough to pay attention. And maybe I'm being punished for my own naughty wish to have all his love. Now translate this dynamic to your adult child's real-life behavior. They might be playing out a version of a parent is being hurt scenario. When they lash out at you or coldly reject you, it's like they are the one beating or punishing the parent. Why on earth would they do this? Possibly because unconsciously, they are replaying the old drama of love and anger. You loved me so much, I secretly felt overwhelmed or controlled by it. I had forbidden anger about it. Now I'll punish you as if I were the parent. It's an inversion of roles, much like Freud described. The real situation gets reversed in fantasy. The child takes the power position, the punishing parent, and the real parent is pushed into the role of the chastised one. In Freud's words, deep inside the child might be thinking, if I were the parent and you were the child, I'd treat you badly. This isn't a conscious thought your child has. They would never articulate it, but their behavior enacts it. By making you hurt, by making you pay, in a sense, they are expressing the aggression that was long repressed under their dependence on you. It's twisted and tragic. Your very generosity and indispensability created a kind of unconscious debt or anger in them, and now they balance the scales by making you suffer. Another layer here is guilt turned outward. Imagine your child actually feels guilty for not being more loving or for pulling away. That guilt, enforced by a harsh superego, is uncomfortable. It feels like internal punishment. One way people deal with unconscious guilt is to externalize it to provoke punishment from the outside, or to punish someone else instead. If deep down your child thinks I'm awful for how I treat mom/dad, that thought is so painful that they might flip it around and think, it's actually mom/dad who's awful for making me feel this way. Then they act out that accusation by punishing you with hostility. Freud observed how the mind performs such flips to avoid unbearable self-reproach. The child's mind, in essence, says, the reason I feel bad isn't me, it's you. You're the cause of my guilt, so I'll strike at you. Thus, the child punishes the parent as a way to sidestep their own guilt. It's an unconscious moral logic, I'll hurt you so I can feel innocent. All of this is profoundly unjust from your perspective. You loved them, and now you're cast as the villain in their internal play. It's like being punished for a crime you didn't commit, or rather punished for the crime of having loved them so much. It can be helpful, though. Heartbreaking to realize that they are not punishing you, the real you, so much as punishing the image of a parent in their mind. You have become a screen onto which they project all their unresolved anger about being small, dependent, and controlled in childhood. If they felt helpless as a child now, by making you hurt, they get to feel powerful. If they felt too beholden to you now by mistreating you, they feel a kind of dark triumph. See, you don't own me anymore. Freud's concept of transference is useful here. In therapy, a patient might transfer feelings onto the therapist that really belong to someone else, often a parent. In life, people do this all the time. Your adult child could be transferring feelings onto you that actually stem from their own inner conflicts. You are, in a sense, a mirror for them, as we'll explore in the next arc, reflecting parts of themselves or their past that they cannot stand. So they strike the mirror. They punish you, but what they're really attacking are painful feelings within themselves. Feelings of weakness, of indebtedness, of guilt, or unfulfilled longing. This doesn't make it any less painful for you. In fact, it can feel even more devastating. Your pure love is met with cruelty. It's important to know you did not cause this by loving them. Love by its nature can stir up intense reactions in the beloved, especially the love between parent and child. The more vital you were to their survival, the more at some level they resented that reality. As absurd as it seems, the child punishing the loving parent is enacting an unconscious cry. How dare you mean so much to me? How dare I need you? I'll show you that I don't need you by hurting you. It's a tragic dance of attachment and individuation gone awry. Understanding this dark Freudian undercurrent can at least reassure you that you're not crazy. There is a logic, however twisted, in your child's behavior. They are expressing something that they themselves do not understand, but you can understand. And with that knowledge comes a crucial truth. You are not the monster here. In fact, you're more like a mirror. Let's move to the next arc and focus on that idea that you have become a mirror for your child's inner struggles, not the monster they make you out to be. When your adult child treats you like the enemy, it's almost inevitable to start seeing yourself through their eyes. You may feel cast as a monster, the bad mother, the failed father, the source of all their troubles. Perhaps they've even outright blamed you for things in their life, rewriting history so that all your sacrifices become twisted into examples of how you messed them up. This is soul-crushing. You start second-guessing every decision you made as a parent, wondering if somehow you truly are as terrible as they paint you. Stop right there. You are not the monster your child imagines. In truth, you are a mirror reflecting back to them aspects of themselves and their past that they struggle to face. Freud's notion of transference comes to the forefront here. Think of transference as a kind of psychological mirroring or displacement the child is taking, feelings that originate elsewhere, often within themselves, and seeing them in you. Has your child ever accused you of something utterly baffling, projecting intentions or traits onto you that you know are really their own? For example, they call you selfish and uncaring, when in fact those words describe how they've been acting. Or they claim you're trying to control them when you've only reached out with concern. This is projection, a close cousin of transference. They cannot tolerate something in themselves, so they pin it on you. You have become a mirror for their unacceptable feelings. Recall what we saw in the previous arc by hurting you. They were in a way asserting power and rejecting their own past helplessness. Here's another way to view it. They see their own aggression and anger reflected back as if it's coming from you. It's like they hold up a mirror and see a monster, not realizing it's their own distorted reflection. Freud, in Civilization and its Discontents, described how the superego, the internalized parent voice, can be formed by turning one's own aggression inward. The child takes the authority of the parent into themselves, and with it all the aggression they wished they could have unleashed. As a result, the conscience that forms can be extremely harsh, a monster within. Sometimes, rather than keep that monster inside a person, we'll externalize it and see it in others. So your child might unconsciously think, it's not that I have hateful feelings because that would make me bad. Instead, it's that my parents are hateful or oppressive. They then react to you as if you were that oppressive figure, even if you never were. They're fighting a shadow on the wall, a shadow of their own inner conflicts. It's striking how often loving parents say, it's like my child doesn't even see me anymore. They've invented this caricature of me that isn't true. This is exactly the mirror effect. They aren't seeing you in your full reality. They're seeing pieces of themselves, pieces of their past, perhaps even pieces of other people, such as another parent, a step-parent, or a childhood authority projected onto you. For instance, if they have unresolved anger at their father, they might take it out on you, their mother, because it's safer or more convenient to rage at you than at him, or vice versa. The mind often displaces feelings from the true source to a more available target. As the parent who's always there, you become the universal target for all their frustrations. Now, none of this is to simply exonerate ourselves as parents. We all make mistakes, of course, but the point is that your child's extreme ingratitude and demonization of you usually far exceeds any actual parenting errors. It's driven by their inner turmoil. This is why you have to hold on to reality. Who do you know yourself to be? Were you perfect? Surely not. But were you loving, devoted, and doing your best? Yes. Does that realistically add up to the evil figure they sometimes treat you as? No. That discrepancy is the red flag that this is their issue. It's like a funhouse mirror. The reflection is wildly distorted. Freud's work hints at an important insight here. The child's harsh judgment of the parent often mirrors the harsh judgment they carry inside against themselves. They cannot bear feeling flawed or guilty, so one coping mechanism is to locate all that badness in you. If you're the monster, then they can feel like the righteous victim. This role reversal spares them the pain of facing their own ambivalent feelings, their mix of love and hate, which might otherwise tear them apart with guilt or shame. By insisting you are all bad, they simplify things. They can justify their lack of gratitude and cut off the conflict within themselves. For you, the parent, this realization can actually be liberating. It means you can stop auditioning for your child's love. You don't have to accept the monster role they've assigned you. You can say internally, this isn't about me being terrible. This is about them. In therapy, a good therapist remains steady when a patient projects intense feelings onto them, knowing it's the patient's internal drama playing out. Similarly, you can find a steady place in yourself. You might quietly think, my child is in pain, seeing ghosts in me that are really their own. I will not accept that distorted image as my truth. It's hard, of course. When their words or actions stab you, it provokes your anger and hurt. You might feel the urge to defend yourself fiercely or to strike back. But if you keep in mind the mirror metaphor, you gain a bit of distance. Instead of reacting to the content of their accusations, which are likely unfair or exaggerated, you can respond to the emotion underneath. For example, if your child spits out, "You always try to control my life," a defensive response might be, "That's not true, I'm just trying to help. Why are you saying this to me after all I've done?" However, a mirror-informed response might be gentle and reflective. "I hear you feel smothered or judged. That isn't my intention. I wonder if you feel like I don't trust you to handle things on your own." This kind of response addresses the feeling they're struggling with, perhaps feeling inadequate or anxious, which they frame as you controlling them, rather than the surface attack. It doesn't mean you're conceding to being a monster, it means you're refusing to play that part. You're talking to the vulnerable child behind the anger, rather than the mask of the angry adult. Above all, do not lose sight of your own goodness. Freud understood that people tend to turn their pain outward or inward. Your child is turning theirs outward onto you. The danger is you might turn their pain inward and start believing you're a failure. That road leads to despair. Resist it. Recall the loving acts you've done, even if your child refuses to acknowledge them. Remind yourself of who you are outside of this one relationship, because when someone treats us like a monster, we can begin to act like one out of hurt and defensiveness. Hold fast to your true reflection, not the grotesque caricature in their funhouse mirror. You are a loving parent caught in a painful projection. You are the mirror, not the monster. Understanding this sets the stage for reclaiming your own inner voice, which may have been drowned out by guilt and self-doubt. Why did you keep giving and giving even as you felt more erased? The next arc will explore that to the voice inside you, perhaps planted there by your own upbringing or society, that made you feel you had to sacrifice everything. It's time to turn some compassion toward yourself and examine how your own psyche has been shaped by these dynamics. Think back to all those years, and perhaps even now, when you kept on giving to your child even when it hurt. You gave when you were exhausted. You gave when they didn't appreciate it. You gave pieces of your life, your identity, your happiness, all for them. What kept you going? What voice inside drove you to sacrifice so much? Many parents carry an internal voice, a mix of conscience, guilt, and ingrained belief that whispers or shouts. Good parents give everything. Your needs don't matter. You must always be there, no matter what. This voice can be so strong that even as your child shows you ingratitude or even contempt, you still feel compelled to keep giving to try harder to please them somehow. In psychoanalytic terms, this voice bears the markings of the superego, a powerful inner critic and guide formed from our earliest experiences of parental authority and cultural norms. Freud described the superego as an internalized parent, a moral voice that watches over the ego and punishes it with guilt when we stray. Where does it come from? As Freud put it, the superego is the heir to the Oedipus complex, arising when a child gives up their intense early attachments and instead identifies with the parent's values. In simpler terms, we carry our parents' voices along with the voices of tradition inside us as our conscience. If you grew up with the idea that self-sacrifice is the hallmark of a good parent, then your superego likely enforces that ideal with vigor. Each time you even think of drawing a boundary or asking for something back from your child, that inner voice may scold, "How selfish you're a mother or father." Your life is your child. Don't even think about your own needs. This harsh voice keeps you giving even when you're running on empty. It's a cruel irony. The same psychological force that instills values of love and care can become a tyrant that never lets you care for yourself. Society amplifies this voice, especially for parents. Mothers in particular, though fathers feel it too. There's a civilization-wide expectation of martyrdom. Freud observed that civilization asks individuals to renounce their instincts and desires for the greater good. Parenting is often treated as the ultimate act of such renunciation. You were likely praised whenever you sacrificed for your child, and perhaps subtly shamed if you ever faltered. Over years, this builds an internal narrative that your worth is tied to how much you give. And so you gave and gave and gave. Even as your child failed to show gratitude, perhaps you redoubled your efforts thinking, maybe if I give more, they'll finally appreciate me. Maybe the next gift, the next favor will prove my love, and they'll respond. This hope can become a trap, locking you into a cycle of overgiving, fueled by an internal plea. See me, appreciate me. Let's turn inward now. How has this endless giving affected you? It's likely left you depleted, perhaps resentful, even if you hardly admit it to yourself, and with a blurred sense of identity beyond parent. The voice that made you keep giving often drowns out your own authentic needs and feelings. Maybe you hear it any time a flicker of anger at your child arises. Shame on you for feeling that. What kind of parent gets mad at their own child? They must be right. It's your fault. Try harder. This internalized guilt is powerful. Freud would say that the tension between your ego, which has real feelings of hurt and anger, and your strict superego demanding saintly selflessness creates a sense of guilt that looks for punishment. That punishment can come in the form of you denying yourself pleasure, running yourself ragged, or unconsciously inviting the kind of disrespect your child is showing, as if to satisfy the inner voice saying you deserve to suffer for not being perfect. It's heavy stuff. The human mind can be incredibly hard on itself. The sense of guilt expresses itself as a need for punishment, Freud wrote, and you may feel that at some level you're enduring your child's ingratitude as a punishment you mysteriously deserve. Sometimes this giving beyond all limits has roots in your own childhood. Perhaps you grew up with a parent who was emotionally distant or hard to please. Part of you vowed, I will give my child everything I never got. I will be the mother or father I wish I had. That noble resolve, however, can morph into a relentless drive that ignores your boundaries. It can also carry a hidden expectation that your child will then give you the love and validation you lacked growing up. That's not a conscious calculus, but deep down, we often seek healing of old wounds through our children. When they instead turn ungrateful, it's not only the current rejection that hurts, but the old scar of feeling unloved that gets torn open again. This can make you cling even harder, trying to win that love at any cost. Your child's inability to show appreciation might inadvertently be feeding your superego's narrative. See, you still aren't good enough. Give more. Recognizing this voice is a pivotal step. Try to separate your true self from this internalized ideal. Your true self might softly say, I'm exhausted. I've done so much. I wish I could rest and be acknowledged. The harsh internal voice snaps back. How dare you? You're a parent. Keep pushing. Realize that this punitive voice is not inherently truth. It's a mental program installed long ago. Freud would encourage us to become aware of such inner dynamics to bring the unconscious into consciousness. By hearing that voice clearly, you can start to question it. Ask, whose voice is this really? My mother's, my father's, society's. Would I ever judge another parent as harshly as I judge myself? Likely not. It may help to know that Freud also believed in the importance of a balanced ego that can navigate between inner demands. The goal is not to become selfish or stop loving your child, but to turn some compassion toward yourself. The healthier your own psyche, the better you can model boundaries and self-respect, something your adult child might actually need to learn from you. Consider that by always giving endlessly, you might have unintentionally taught your child that your needs don't count. Children often take their parents at their word or actions. If you acted like you had no needs and only existed to serve them, they may simply be following that script. It's not too late to rewrite it. Give yourself permission to stop overgiving. This doesn't mean withdrawing love. It means withdrawing self-erasement. If an opportunity arises where you typically would bend over backward for your child at your own expense, pause. Listen for that inner voice pushing you, and gently tell it, I have done enough. It's okay for me to take care of myself. This is difficult. It may bring tears of grief as you confront how hard you've been on yourself, but it's a step toward healing. When you ease the stranglehold of that guilt-driven superego, you create space for a new kind of relationship with your child. One where you are present not out of compulsion or fear, but out of genuine choice and healthier love. And if that love is not returned, you will be better equipped to cope, because you'll have regained some love for yourself to sustain you. Freud's shocking answer to why your adult child is ungrateful is not because you failed. It's rooted in psychological forces that transcended your individual actions. But now, armed with insight, you can start to reclaim your own well-being. In the final arcs, we'll focus on healing for you, regardless of what your child chooses to do. It's time to address how you can heal without the apology or gratitude you've longed for, and what it means to love in a way that stops waiting for validation. The last part, how to heal without their apology. You might secretly dream of the day your adult child realizes how unfair they've been, breaks down in tears, and says, "I'm so sorry. Thank you for everything." That apology feels like the missing piece that could make you whole. But part of real healing is coming to terms with a hard truth: you may never receive it. So how do you begin to heal without it? Start by allowing yourself to mourn. You're not just grieving your child's coldness, you're grieving the future you hoped for. The version of the relationship where they'd come back, appreciate you, love you the way you dreamed. Freud's essay, Mourning and Melancholia, teaches us that loss doesn't only mean death. It includes dreams, ideals, and roles we longed to fulfill. Unprocessed this mourning can turn into melancholia, where grief becomes self-blame. The mind flips from "I lost something" to "I am something wrong." If you're not careful, their silence becomes a mirror reflecting imagined personal failure. Don't let their lack of apology make you punish yourself. Instead, face your true emotions. Write a letter, one you never send, pouring out the pain, the confusion, the love, and the anger. Say what you wish you could say. "I gave you everything. I waited for your thank you. And I still love you." The point is not to change them. It's to release you. Then begin to gently release your need for their validation. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means no longer anchoring your peace to whether or not they finally get it. You might say in your heart, "I wish things were different, but I refuse to let your silence define my worth." Freud understood that ambivalence, loving and hating the same person, is part of every deep relationship. You may feel both rage and tenderness toward your child. That's human. Healing means giving space for that complexity without shame. You're allowed to love them and also feel hurt. You're allowed to hope and also to let go. One path forward is what some therapists call detaching with love. You don't cut them off, but you stop bleeding. You begin making choices not from guilt or desperation, but from self-respect. If every phone call leaves you gutted, take fewer. If holidays are painful, create new traditions. Protect your heart without closing it. You may also consider forgiveness, but only when you're ready and only for your sake. Forgiveness here doesn't mean saying what they did was okay. It means releasing the grip it has on you. Sometimes understanding can help forgiveness unfold. When you see their ingratitude as a defense against shame or guilt, you might feel a kind of empathy, not excusing, but recognizing the fear beneath the coldness. But forgiveness is not a requirement for healing. What is required is reclaiming your emotional life. That means finding sources of appreciation and whole joy beyond this one person. It might be a friend who sees you, a grandchild, a volunteer community, or even solitude that soothes. Freud believed happiness came from love and work. If your love has nowhere to land in your child, let it bloom somewhere else. Pour it into a garden, a dog, a cause, a version of yourself you had to postpone for their sake. Most of all, stop trying to earn something you already deserved. You were a good enough parent. You showed up. You gave. If they can't see it, that's a blindness in them, not a flaw in you. Practice speaking to yourself the way you once wished they would. Thank you. I see all that you did. I'm proud of you. Say it until it feels real. Because you deserve to be seen, even if the seeing must start from within. There will be waves, birthdays, holidays, quiet afternoons that ache. That's okay. Grief doesn't vanish, it softens. And in time, what hardens is not your heart, but your strength. You are healing even now, without their apology, without their praise. You are moving forward, not because they gave you closure, but because you gave it to yourself. And that is freedom. And in that newfound peace, you may discover a different kind of love for your child. One not based on needing anything back. That leads us to our final arc, the love that stops waiting. At first, your love for your child may have felt like a silent plea. Please see me. Please love me back. Please thank me. It was a love tangled in longing and pain. But healing asks something deeper of you to let that love evolve. The love that stops waiting is not the end of love. It is its transformation. It is the moment you stop standing by the emotional door, waiting for your child to open it. You no longer hinge your peace on their apology, their gratitude, or even their presence. This doesn't mean you no longer care. It means you care in a different way. A freer way. A way that doesn't cost you your dignity. You carry love, but not as a wound. You carry it as a quiet strength. Freud called this shift sublimation, when painful emotional energy is redirected toward new meaning. You begin to pour that love into your own life, into the friends who show up, the causes that stir your soul, the parts of yourself that were once buried beneath sacrifice. You start to remember that you are more than a parent. You are a whole person. This kind of love respects itself. It loves boundaries. If your child continues to be cold or cruel, you can still wish them well from a distance. You can say, I love you, but I will no longer make myself small for you. That's not bitterness. That's clarity. Some parents fear that stopping the wait means giving up. But it's not giving up. It's growing up again. Just as your child had to separate to become themselves, so do you. Only now you are separating from the need to be needed. And strangely, it's in this letting go that real love is reborn. A love not bound by guilt or fear. A love that doesn't beg. It simply exists like a still lake after a storm. You may still think of your child. You may still hope. But your joy no longer depends on them changing. You're free to live your life fully deeply now. You've stopped waiting. And in doing so, you've begun returning to yourself. That is not the end of love. It's the beginning of peace. If this touches something inside, you don't keep it in silence. Share your voice below. Have you ever felt emotionally erased by your adult child? What helped you begin to heal with or without closure? And if this journey helped you breathe a little deeper, subscribe to Q-Vibe Freudian Daily. Here we don't just explain your pain. We walk with you through it until it transforms. Until next time, love without losing yourself. Heal without needing permission. And remember, you are not forgotten. You are becoming free.